All right, and we're back for another episode of the Lakers Fast Break podcast. It's Gerald Glassford coming right back at you here from Lakers Fast Break, Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and Game Source. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our shows, and if you can, please send us out that 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, or you can send us some stars while we're doing our gaming streams. Plus, also as well, if you can support, follow us, or do anything you can to support our show here at the Lakers Fast Break or the Pop Culture Cosmos, or also as well, Lakerholics.com, a place to go for everything Lakers, including great articles. There's also videos from Rafael Barlow that are there. Look at the podcast. The Lakers Fast Break is there as well. And, of course, great articles with my guests right now here to wrap up what we're going to talk about the first scrimmage for the Los Angeles Lakers. And that's Tom Wong. I know him as, but you know him as LakerTom. And LakerTom, great to have you back on the program. I wish it could have been under better circumstances.
What would the better circumstances have been?
A win, man, a win. I always want to see a win. I know it doesn't count. Doesn't matter. I always want to see the Lakers win.
Well, I wrote an article for Lakers.com, and the final gist of the article was to tell the fans to sit back, chillax, and not get all bent out of shape, because the Lakers are basically looking at these 3 scrimmages and the 8 seeding games as 11 preseason games. And that's all you're going to see. I said basically the things that they're looking for are starting with just right from the start that KCP was going to replace Avery Bradley, which he did. Dion Waiters was going to come off of the bench to play Rondo's role, which he did. You're going to see a lot of load management with LeBron and AD, which we did. And if we call the first half the only part of the game that mattered, which is what I think, then Kuzma was going to be part of the closing lineup, which he was. AD was going to play more center, and the first substitution you saw in the game in that first half was Dwight Howard going out and AD moving over to center. And then last but not least, THT, Devontae, and Costas were going to get some minutes to play, and that's exactly how things rolled out. Lakers lost by 4, but all that really mattered was they led by 11 at the half. LeBron and AD both scored 12 points again, each on better than 50% shooting from the field. Dion Waiters came in and did a great job, both playmaking and scoring. He looked really smooth. Kuzma looked confident. He struggled a little on defense because he was given the job of trying to stop Luka, which is not many people can stop that man. He's definitely the most improved player in the league this year. But I thought I was impressed that Kuz, even though he didn't hit his first few shots, he hung in there. He had a couple of good defensive plays. They played deep. They played zone on a couple of possessions, and he made some good reads and got an interception and a tip and another one. So I was pretty happy. I was really happy with the first half. LeBron looked like LeBron. It looked like, as far as LeBron was concerned, this was not a scrimmage. He definitely came in there and played just like he was getting ready for the playoffs. And if you were to think about 11 games left in the season and how LeBron normally approaches the end of the year, ramping it up for the playoffs, I think we saw that today. AD looked great. The timing looked great. The two of them really impressive. And Waiters, as you know, is, along with Kuzma, my wild cards for the Lakers to really be able to have a easy ride to the championship. And I thought Waiters was very impressive.
I'm glad you got that off your chest, my friend, because there are some things I want to talk about.
Go ahead.
First of all, I was pleasantly surprised that the turnovers were not as bad as I thought they would be, because we saw, especially in that Denver game, where the turnovers were just really killing the team, even though Denver really still came out on top against Washington. But that's not hard, seeing what Washington could roll out right now. But yes, I'm happy that it was a lot cleaner game than what I thought it was going to be. Defensively, they were atrocious. I'm not going to kid you wrong. They need to get that back. they cannot be worse defending the 3-point area than what they were here. I mean, let's just put that out there. Having Seth Curry just explode from 3-point lane and 3-point area was just inexcusable after a while. And the fact that Luka and also Kristaps Porzingis and also Max Kleba were just having a field day from the 3-point area. I understand giving up a lot of threes. I know Milwaukee does it as part of their whole defensive scheme, but to not even put a hand or contest even from far away on a lot of these shots was simply something that they have to work on. Frank Vogel needs to go ahead and focus on that. It worked for a while in the first half because after they got off to a torrid start, they started to get a little bit cold in the second quarter. So that's when the Lakers really started to take over. And you're going to hopefully see that continue as the game goes on. But again, at least trying to go out and contest to me is still something that they need to go ahead and do a little bit better job of, because I noticed they gave up on a lot of defensive rotations, which I'm still attributing to it being the first exhibition game. I did like what I saw out of AD and LeBron. I mean, they're back in midseason form already, and it was beautiful to watch. That part of it I enjoyed. KCP was non-existent, and that's so you cannot get 17 minutes of nothing. It has to be more than 17 minutes of nothing. So KCP needs to be more consistent. That's something that's always plagued him, is inconsistency, and he cannot have that. He's got to go ahead and be more effective out there on the floor. I do like Danny Green showing up. That was something that we need to have going forward in the playoffs, so I like that. Quinn Cook, as I told you before, was somebody that can contribute, but defensively, you see the issues there. Kyle Kuzma, like you said, came in with a lot of confidence, and unfortunately, Luka Doncic eroded a lot of that confidence because he just played this absolutely horrible defense against him. I know, and Luka's going to do that to a lot of people, but again, if you're going to be out there on some minutes and playing at the wing, you need to go ahead and take on sometimes the other player, and especially if that other player is going to be Luka Doncic. So you can't always have like a Justin Jackson or other players that are either at or below your level. You're going to sometimes have to play harder defense and stay in front of the man. And that, to me, is just going to be something that Kuzma really has to focus on. He did such a great job of it for quite a bit of the first half of the season, I'll say, up until the pandemic. I want to see that going forward. So we'll see in the coming games if he can focus more on defense. Offensively, it's still not there yet, and we need to go ahead and be a little bit more patient with that because it's still a mess at this point in time. Although he did facilitate the offense when he was asked to do that a lot better. His passing was a lot better. But yes, something when it left to him to go ahead and create offense on his own, still wasn't a very good mix. Dion Waiters, welcome to Waiters Island, because it looks like it was just a great job that he did for someone that was trying to get acclimated into what the Lakers scheme is all about. J.R. Smith started to really tune it up at the end, so hopefully he can translate the end of the game momentum to what he can do going forward as far as contribution. And I want to ask you this, my friend, and especially because Troy Daniels scored 22 points for the Denver Nuggets yesterday. What the heck is Jared Dudley still on the team? Not once in all these podcasts that you and I did over the course of the pandemic while the Lakers were out playing, did we even once mention Jared Dudley? And there's a reason for that. Because instantly he comes in the game and it's effectively a minus on the plus-minus scale. So I'm sorry, there's no way Jared Dudley is going to be able to give you any type of real effective minutes outside of maybe taking a charge or two. And then you have the guys like Antetokounmpo, K-Cock, and THT, who are just not ready for NBA action at this point in time. It's apparent to see already. This was at times looking very much like a summer league game.
The whole second
look
half
of it,
summer league game.
Yeah, that's the way it should be treated.
Preseason, you know.
I still think that's what we're.
I mean, that was the really whole point of my article, is that you got to expect that the Lakers are really – the Lakers, after they got that first half in and won the first half by 11, that was the game. The rest of it was really a scrimmage. And Lakers really didn't care about what happened the rest of the game.
But it shows
nobody got injured, and KCP's turned an ankle, and that doesn't seem to have bothered him.
But it shows some glaring weaknesses that the Lakers have if there's any type of man down scenario. And of course, Alex Caruso and Markieff Morris didn't play, along with Rajon Rondo and Avery Bradley. They were not all in the lineup for the various reasons. Alex Caruso with a back contusion. Markieff Morris just got back into the bubble, so they weren't ready to play at this point in time. But you can feel it once you start losing a man here, a man there. The Lakers, as a whole, their depth is really hard. And of course, like you said, the third quarter came around, no AD, no LeBron, and the Dallas Mavericks had their starters in, and that's when they really started to take advantage. And
we only scored 13 points in the third quarter, and that was really an experiment to see what was going to happen. And then by the fourth quarter, you've got Kaycock and Antetokounmpo and THT in the game, and then you're really basically just giving them a chance to play and giving the bench a chance to cheer.
It was nice to see them out there.
Let's look at the guys one at a time, because I think that you also have to look at the fact of what you really expected. First off, the most important two players, obviously, for us to see come out and really be in sync were LeBron and AD. And anybody had to be very happy with their performance. They led the team to an 11-point lead, despite hot shooting by Seth Curry, whom I believe is a free agent. And man, I would love to get that guy on the Lakers.
Should have got him last year.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he basically can shoot the ball.
Man. Rondo instead.
Yeah, but it's some things are politics and some things are not politics. I think Curry just seemed to be one of those guys who's never had much. You never hear about him being talked about with the Lakers, and he's always seemed to be on teams that you wonder why there was never any interest in him. And he continued to get better and better. I mean, he was the second best three-point shooter in the entire league, 45%. That's pretty impressive, 6 for 6 to start off the game. But going back to looking at the individual matchups and so forth, and the key components of the Lakers are, they'll go as far as LeBron James and Anthony Davis can take us. And so you have to, number one, say that's an A+ performance by the two of them.
Yes, I will.
LeBron was getting to the basket. AD was hitting his threes. He was hitting his mid-ranges. He was doing everything that you would want, playing good defense. I watched LeBron play defense, and my God, he was really sticking with his man. Guy would cut through the lane, and LeBron would be on him and moving like it was a regular season game or a playoff game. So he's really ramping it up, and he is when he's going to be on the court, he's going to be playing like it's a playoff game. And then probably the next most important two players to see come through, in my mind, as I've said all of our podcasts, was Dion Waiters and Kyle Kuzma. Waiters made some great reads, some great passes. He shot the ball well. He looked in shape. He never seemed to make bad reads and bad plays. So I was really impressed, and I think that really bodes well for the Lakers. Kuzma, I give him. I'm not as hard as you are on having to guard Luka Doncic. I mean, I've seen Luka Doncic take LeBron to school, and I've seen him take AD to school. The kid
but these things will be happening in the course of a matchup against the Mavericks in the playoffs.
Yeah, but in those matchups, you may see LeBron James or AD covering him more. I'm willing to. You can't put too much on performance in a scrimmage in a situation like the bowl.
These are when the habits start forming.
Yeah, but habits are a lot. One scrimmage is not a habit.
Okay.
One scrimmage is just an outlier.
Oh.
I tell you that what impressed me about Kuzma was he went down for a little jump shot from the elbow, from the right elbow, and there was a foul on the screen.
And then he did the same exact thing the next
He came
play.
back in the same
That was
exact
very
play.
nice.
And he not only hit the one on the foul, but he came right back and he hit the one off of on the
very
reach.
nice. And of
That
course,
was a good sign. And then he hit a 3 later in the game. So it's those are some good signs in there.
He did dribble a ball and went into the key and made a great pass.
He made a couple of nice lob passes and so forth.
Some
so
signs.
The thing about it is that if it were anybody else but Doncic, I might be worried. But Doncic, he is just a very difficult cover, especially when he gets inside. He reminds me in a lot of ways of Kawhi Leonard in that he can kill you from outside. But the worst situation is to let him get in the mid-range area because he's just going to get a shot off, and he's almost always going to make that shot. So, I'm still encouraged that Kuz is going to come through and Waiters. So, as far as I'm concerned, those were. I'd give an A for sure to Waiters, and I'd give Kuzma a B. You probably give him a C, but I'd give him a B. And then after that, I think that Quinn Cook looked like a very serviceable guard.
I wonder who would have said that.
I've always liked Cook, even though it takes a talent to be able to sit on the bench as long as Cook does, come into the game and shoot. And same with Troy Daniels. Both of those guys are guys that that doesn't matter how long they've been on their butt in a game and how many times they have gotten a DNP. You put them in the game and they'll shoot and they have unlimited range, both guys. So I was sorry, it's funny that the bad side is defense. I thought Waiters, for example, really did not play great defense. There were several threes that were made when he made reads and took a step the wrong way before a pass went to somebody in the corner.
Jared Dudley also made a lead.
But Dudley's there for a lot of different reasons, and those reasons, if you go back through the season and you look at his defensive rating and you look at certain defensive plays, you look at his 3-point shooting. Aside from being a mentor and somebody that is really important in the locker room for the chemistry, Duds usually comes through in the big games, and he plays well in those situations. And he's one of those guys who, as a veteran, is not afraid to come in and to take and cover a tough cover and to take a tough shot when he has to. And he'll make that shot most of the time. So, why was he in there versus other player? Probably because we're down 4 players that were in our normal rotation. And J.R. Smith's obviously not ready to. JR looked like he hadn't played for 600 days.
No, not at the very end. He actually started to really warm up to it and started to look a lot better, hitting a 3. His pass behind the back for a layup. Mm-hmm. I thought that was very good. I thought his signs there were there.
True, but he's still got a lot of conditioning to get into shape.
Oh, of course, and I'm not doubting that. And having Jared Dudley in now just to fill up some of the minutes in the exhibition season is fine. But
I think that's the reason why first you're going to have Caruso. You got Caruso out of the game. You got Morris out of the game.
And I get that, and I understand. And he's going to be filling up most of the time on this exhibition season. But to see him on the roster still continuously, and I understand you can give me all the locker room stuff that you can give me, but when you see him on the roster and you see, what you have with Troy Daniels in Denver, again, I told you then. And I'll tell you now,
they should have kept Duds instead of Troy.
They should have kept Troy instead of Dudley. Yeah. Absolutely, 10 times out of 10.
What I think you're ignoring, with all due respect, Gerald, is position. We were overloaded with guards. We were very shorthanded with bigs, with guys forwards. That's our weakness: forwards and wings.
But if we have a forward who could really not match up in the NBA because it's either age has already set in. I understand he can.
But if you ask the coaches, you ask LeBron, you ask AD, they trust Duds.
Okay. Well, then they also trust Rondo too. And
I know listen, I mean, you might,
is he clutch too? Coach, it might be different. Is Dudley clutch too? That's what I want to ask. Is he clutch too?
I think he is clutch.
There you go. Well, that answered our questions. Let's move on from Jared Dudley because that could be an issue all day with me.
Well, here's something I want to talk about. If I can take over the
wouldn't be the first time. Go ahead, take over.
there's a couple of things that I think are really important that we saw and started to see when we watched the. I know you did too. I watched a little of the games yesterday, the scrimmages yesterday, and I'm sure you did too. And one of the first thing is that I think the NBA really has aced this whole bubble situation. It's just an impressive job that they've done. Both in having 346 players test negative, 2 days ago, having the confidence that the players now all feel safe and they're all seemingly, with the one possible exception of Dwight, respecting the bubble and understanding the whole situation. And I think that is the initial fear that everybody had that sitting in this bubble in the middle of Florida was going to be a disaster. I think that's flipped around where now everybody's feeling like it's a good thing we got the bubble because otherwise they'd be getting infected. So I think that the NBA has really, when you look at the detail, watching these guys go through, if you watched JaVale's vlog and go through and hold the bracelets up to get cleared to go okay, moving through and basically just really an excellent job and showing, especially considering what's gone on in the country with the inefficiency of attacking and taking care of situations. The NBA gets 5 stars, in my opinion, for the job they have done in protecting the players and creating an environment that is where the players feel safe and can focus on the game. And then the second thing that I'm just really impressed with, although I'm disappointed in the Lakers' efforts in this area, is just the way that the NBA has set the games up so that I was very worried about what the games were going to be like, whether or not without crowds, whether or not you'd be sitting there watching a game that just didn't seem like a game. And yet I found myself in the first half, and I found myself yesterday watching the scrimmages yesterday that I forgot all about the crowds and a lot of times of the game. All I was interested in was the play.
Don't get me started on the crowds. Okay, Tom, here you go. Rant number 1, that crowd noise you're piping in for the TV, as I said before, I'm going to say again, I can't stand it. Can't even stand it even more now. I mean, on Twitter today, they were talking about when Portland played Indiana and Melo grabbed a rebound and shouted an F-bomb as he took the ball up court to get as he was getting a rebound and took it off the court, passed to Collins for a dunk. I would have loved to have heard that. I did hear it on Twitter, but I would, if I'm a fan, that's what I want to hear. That's the real sounds of the game.
Yeah, they don't want you to hear that though.
Yeah, they want you to hear that, and then
your little girls might be in the room, man.
Yeah, I had one cheering with me, so. But unfortunately,
you don't want to be sitting there holding her ears while the good.
Well, as she tells me, she doesn't say the stuff, but she goes to middle school and hears it every day. So that'll tell you right there.
Right.
That speaks volumes right there about our school system. But anyways, getting back to what we're going on with this, the piped-in crowd is awful. Just get rid of it. Don't give me the 2K sounds. They're not 2K. That's not 2K. That's just bad piped-in sounds. Get rid of it. The ambiance, I don't care if it really looks like EuroLeague, but it does look like EuroLeague, and that's kind of cool. I didn't mind that at all. I like that feel.
Did you see the Heat's big video screen with it?
Yeah, the video screen behind. That's great. I like it. I enjoy it. And then also the Spectrum crowd, the Spectrum commentary crew. That unfortunately was something that is left to be desired. They're great for post-game and pre-game, but you need to have the regular Laker broadcasters or professional broadcasters back doing the games because, no, I don't really want to.
I wonder if they're going to do that, or are they going to have? Obviously, if TNT is doing games, it'll be TNT, and if it's ABC, it'll be the ABC crews.
Yes.
But it's kind of interesting that the Lakers didn't bring their court, nor did they bring anything other than banners surrounding the
you don't
scrimmage.
Need to, because you don't need it. It does not. It's not even a psychological advantage. It does not really help. I mean,
but
you know what?
You forget about the crowd because the way that it works, the banners, and it's obvious that they looked at this. They looked at this
before they even broadcast a single game, that the NBA looked at the situation, and their broadcast partners looked at the situation and really said, look, hey, we've got to block off that first 10 rows that you basically see on every single play. And that's the reason they've got the banners and things going around the stadium. I would have preferred to have seen Black Lives Matter, some statements to support the players in that sense. Rather,
I'm hoping that they're going to do that. I'm hoping that they're going to show that on the video walls and integrate that a lot more than just the Lakers banner and the Lakers video walls and things of that nature. Like they or whoever.
But I watched the first half, Gerald, and I was fine with the piped in noise, and I was fine with the banners cutting off.
No, I can't play with the piped in noise. That was awful. Get rid of it yesterday. In fact, everybody
not going to get rid of it. I'll bet you anything.
Well, unfortunately, they need to. But anyways, I'm going to tell you right now, people need to go ahead and understand what I'm talking about. Go to Twitter, go find LeBron James fast break dunk, and see it as it was actually heard on the actual floor. That right there tells you the excitement. You could hear the bench. They were hooping and hollering and screaming, and that really gets you. That's the fun. That's the magic of basketball right there. Not this piped in murmur that keeps consistently throughout the entire
game.
You
got 48 minutes that you got to cover.
No highs, no lows, just a murmur there. That was awful. You need to get rid of that like yesterday. I'm sorry.
They're not going to do it. They're not going to do it.
They need to. I didn't. I'm saying they need to. I unfortunately realize that they probably won't, but they certainly as heck need to.
Well,
but
you're entitled to your opinion, man.
Well, and my opinion is right in this case. But anyways, I'm going to tell you right now, it was a lot of great signs in the first half. Let's go ahead because, like I said, first half did have AD and LeBron and the starters in for the majority period of time.
And the second half doesn't matter, man. The second half don't matter.
Yeah, second half you could pretty well. Again, the second half you see some things that you want to go ahead and see as weaknesses if it gets to the point with injuries or sickness or anything like that could be an issue for the Lakers. But as long as you maintain the full or the somewhat full roster that you have, the Lakers can compete with anybody because you have AD and LeBron because they play so well together. They look like they're meshing still, like they never lost a step. JaVale, the way he came in.
Played well.
Absolutely. Dwight Howard had flashes, both on and off, bad and good in there, but he was in there, especially when he was hustling on the break. That was a great sign to see. Yeah. Defensively, I thought he was a little bit of a step slow, but then again, those things can be worked out as far as positioning is concerned. And then, like I said, there were some good signs with Danny Green, who early on set the tempo and really looked good. And I also like the fact that Quinn Cook, as long as you're not asking him to play too much in the way of defense, if you can go ahead and help him out, he can give you something offensively. And I really like that if they can go ahead and utilize him just a little bit in spots going forward. I'm not expecting too much, but if you can give him 10 to 15 minutes here or there, I really think he can do some good work for you.
Yeah, I agree with all of those. KCP too. The other thing, I was watching KCP a lot on defense, and he's not the pesky defender that Bradley is, but my God, the guy works his ass off on defense, and he really hustles hard. He stays in front of his man, and he does a pretty good job. He's a very active defender, and generally is always in the right spot. He didn't really seem to push himself offensively. He wasn't forcing any shots and so forth. So we'll have to see how we go down the line. But I still like the idea that by replacing Bradley and Rondo with KCP and Waiters really does give you a lot better outside shooting. And that's going to be, I think, one of the keys to this whole playoffs, because that's always been the formula for winning with LeBron James. You've got to have guys who can stretch the floor, spread that defense, and open up lanes for LeBron and AD to attack. And LeBron was getting to the rim every single time he wanted to today.
I'm just concerned on the defensive end because losing Bradley on the defensive end because he's such a fighter.
Yeah, we went 17-3 with KCP starting.
As I noted to you,
and he's the best 3-point shooter on the team. Shot 43% for those 20 games that he started,
but
and
the thing is,
39.4 for the season.
He needs to be consistent. And today was a day where, like you said, he worked hard, but it doesn't show up in the stats.
But he didn't take bad shots. He just wasn't open in his situations. The plays went to other people. He made a couple of great, he made 2 or 3 assists off of drives to the hoop for dunks. So he took what was given to him.
Well, I'm going to say, like I said, with him, they played, their plus minus obviously was much better with the starting lineup in Q, and you saw it in the first half, Laker fans, and that's something to be excited for. They took the best shot from Dallas, hitting so much from the outside early on and 3-pointers galore, but still they managed to overcome it, and they were leading by as much as 12 to 14, I think, at some point in time during
the
game.
Most of that lead came with who playing center.
Yeah, that's true.
Anthony Davis playing center.
Yep. Imagine that, my friend. Imagine that. Gee, what a shock. What a surprise.
But, that was one of the things that you heard, I don't know whether it was misinformation that Vogel is trying to put out to people about how we're going to, this is after we beat the Bucks and the Clippers with a lot of AD at center 50% of the time. AD or Morris were playing center in those 2 wins. And Vogel comes out and announces that, we're gonna ride this, this JaVale McGee, Dwight Howard center tandem, just like we did in the regular season. Well, the first substitution, with 3 minutes left in the first quarter, was to put AD at center and pull, and put Kuzma in for JaVale. And that's when the game turned around. That's all of a sudden now you've got a lot more. You have a lot more flexibility. You've got quickness on the outside, and even during that period when Doncic was taking advantage of Kuzma and scoring over and over, we still spread that lead out to 10 points, and it was basically because we've got better perimeter shooting and because the floor is opened up because LeBron can get to the basket. It makes a big difference. We're going to see this same pattern all the way through until the season starts, I think. And I think we may, with the Clipper game, may be the exception. But I think the next 2 scrimmages are going to be exactly like this. LeBron and AD are going to play the first half, and they're going to play like it's a regular season game. And then they're going to sit the rest of the second halves. And then we'll play them they'll play the Clippers game like it's a real game. And after that, with only needing 3 wins out of the next 7 games, the Lakers are going to just basically slide through. You'll see them play a lot of different people. They're going to try to get Waiters a lot of playing time so he can get used to what's happening, so he can improve on defense and know exactly where he's supposed to rotate and so forth. They're going to try to get Kuzma's confidence going and get him going so he can really be a scoring threat and show that he can play in a well-around game. And I think you're going to see the same thing from Danny Green and Alex Caruso. Those are the 2 stalwarts that basically you got to count on to just produce like they always produce. They have a 20-point game every so often, but most of the time they're going to score 10 points, play solid defense, make the right plays, be the glue players that hold the team together. McGee is basically going to start and play the first, 7 or 8 minutes of each half, and then probably not play again in the rest of the game until the second half. He'll play the first 7 or 8 minutes of the second half, and then he probably won't go in. Howard will come in on situations, but we're going to see a lot of AD at center and Morris at center. I think integrating Morris will be another one of the main key things that we're going to see during the seeding games. But boy, that last 3 or 4 seeding games are going to probably be just like the second halves of this game. We're not going to care who really wins those games. We'll easily lock up the number 1 seed. And even if we didn't lock up the number 1 seed, it really doesn't matter. I mean, in fact, if Portland goes and becomes the number 8 seed, we'd probably be better off playing whoever's number 7 at that point in time, because they're going to be one of those teams from 3 to 6 that basically, or 3 to 7 right now, that stumble, because the Mavs are probably going to move up. I think the Mavs are, they have a really good offense, and man, that guy Boban he is so tall. It's just incredible watching him take a little 2-foot jump shot, and Howard is jumping like heck just to try to get up as high as he's releasing the ball. He's a real character, man. I loved him in the John Wick movie.
Absolutely.
He was just terrific. he's got to be one of the more lovable guys in the league at this point in time, and he had a great game.
Absolutely, he did.
Nailed a three.
You got to use him in stretches. Certain matchup situations.
It's a matchup situation.
Yeah. So, but I will tell you what. Overall, in the first half, the Lakers showed, especially in that second quarter. If you want to go back, everyone, and take a look at any part of the game, take a look at that second quarter, because that's what you need to see. The Lakers can and are capable of during the course of a regular season game or the playoffs. With AD playing the 5, that's something people need to get a little bit more used to. And I told you already that there could be signs where you could see Dwight Howard being sat down a half, 3/4 of a game, or JaVale McGee not playing much at all outside of maybe starting just for a few minutes, because AD at the 5 is the best position for him right now on the Lakers team, whether he likes to say it or not. I think he realizes it, that the best lineup for the Lakers is him at the 5, and I think that's something that you have to realize.
It's a funny thing. Even when he plays the 5, I noticed that, he still likes to float. He still likes to float on defense. And so basically you had Kuzma. Kuzma did a great job on Boban a couple of times when he had him inside. And Dudley fought in fights, and basically he was covering the center in the time. He was covering I can't remember the kid's name, the very athletic one of those 3 brothers, white guy on the Mavericks.
You're talking about Kleba?
No, their other center, the real jumping jack.
Oh, Powell.
Yeah. So but basically,
he's not playing. He's not playing because he's injured. He's gone.
Is he injured? I thought he was in the game. At any rate, AD, they don't want AD to bang, and even when he's in there, whoever's playing power forward will often take the center and just allow AD to just roam and be the shot blocker, basically, to help out on those situations. So it's not really as dramatic a thing as you might think it is, where you're going to have him down in the block trying to guard Jokic or somebody like that. He's probably not going to do that. But overall, I was very happy with the game. I was at the end of the first half. I said, "Hey, that's it." And I even posted in the blog that second half is just going to be a scrimmage. They're not going to play AD and LeBron, and those guys never came back.
No, they didn't. But like I said, it's an enjoyable first half. The next game for the Lakers is Saturday, 9 a.m. Pacific. So
not televised outside of Los Angeles, too.
Well, it is going to be NBA TV. No. Well, we're going to have to see.
We're not going to see either one of the next 2 scrimmages in Las Vegas or San Francisco.
Well, we'll see what we can do about that. We'll see. We can go ahead and still get reported on. And Sunday, you're going to be on here. We're going to talk about that second game, see what happens there. We're going to try and get some feedback. I know the video will be out by then, by the time we talk, so we'll be able to go ahead and discuss it in detail. So I'm looking forward to hearing you on Sunday. But LakerTom, before we head on out, I want to go ahead and get an update of what's going on with LakerHolics.com, because I can actually say it officially now. LakerHolics.com is live. I'm going to go ahead and show it everyone right now. Again, it is LakerHolics.com. Be part of the conversation today at LakerHolics.com. You've got the homepage, blogs, you got podcasts, videos from Rafael Barlow that he's going to be posting on there. You've got a lot of things that are going on when it concerns the Los Angeles Lakers, and there's no better place to talk about it than LakerHolics.com. But Tom, before we head on out, you got to tell everybody what's going on at LakerHolics.com.
Well, we've taken us over 6 months to put the new site together, Gerald, and
I've heard almost every single day of it too.
We're really happy with it. We've still got some improvements that we're going to be making in the podcast page. Raphael's first video, I'm looking at some of the Lakers needs in the draft, and those same needs actually will be looked at him later down the road in free agency and trades. But we put together a great crew of people. It includes some new people like Raphael. I'm talking to a couple of other people who might be writing for the blog. We've got a great links page that's got like 40 or 50 links that you can one-click links to every one of the major
statistical categories that you might want to check out on the Lakers. We've got some terrific polls that are in there. There's all sorts of social media features that enable to build up the community. We've had great response initially, and there's always people lurking. I was really surprised at the number of people that are lurking in and around that aren't members of the site, but that are basically there every day and looking at what's happening. So we're really happy with what's going on. We had a soft opening last Monday. We're going to have a grand opening probably before, I think, next Tuesday or Wednesday, in preparation for the Lakers game against the Clippers, the first game of the resumed season, if you will. So if you're interested in having a great conversation, one of the things that makes LakerHolics.com different from all of the other aggregator sites or Laker sites that you would normally go to is that one of the big attractions is obviously the news and the articles and the podcasts and the videos that are created, the original content that are created specifically for the site. But the real big draw for the site is the conversations. It's the comments and the interaction between fans that are talking about the videos, talking about the podcast, talking about the articles, talking about the news posts and everything. And then it's those conversations that really are the main attraction on the site. And it's why the site's been around for the last 8 years and hangs on. It's like a reprise of the old Los Angeles Times Lakers blog. And it's filled with expats from that blog. So if you're interested in having an intelligent, informed conversation, having a good time and talking Lakers with people that are going to respect your opinions and give you a chance to express yourself, LakerHolics.com is a place to go. And we invite you to join us.
Well, once again, be part of the conversation today at LakerHolics.com. Well, my friend, it's been great talking to you. We're 0-1 on the exhibition season, but 1-0 when it comes to looking like really, really, really good when we have LeBron and AD in the lineup. So that part of it is obviously for Lakers fans something to rejoice. We've got basketball back again. That's really what it's all about. I'm so happy it's back. Whether it looks like EuroLeague, whether it looks like Summer League, hey, I'll take it because it's the NBA League. And I'm so happy basketball is back right here at the Lakers Fast Break podcast.